Hello and welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything, I got a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast at gmail.com. It's just a fun little area where we're playing some games, having some fun conversations with Nathan and I. Just something extra given to you patrons as a thank you for supporting us. But don't worry if you choose not to, it does not affect any regular content. But today we're going digging back into that Toho well, Nathan, and
Oh boy.
we we're pulling out something different from Godzilla. Uh, we're gonna go underneath the sea again. it's that it apparently there's another undersea kingdom that needs to be
Oh
addressed,
boy.
but it is 1963's Atragon, and that is directed by Ishirō Honda. You haven't heard that name in a
I
while.
know, right? But I still know a lot about him, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say? But uh, this one, very different movie compared to the other kaiju movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Not a bad thing, I will say. I This movie is very much like, what if Megalon had a good plot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh
I,
oh.
I didn't like this one at all. Like
Oh
there
no.
now, see, there's something I do think the plot, I get it. I get it. There's a lot of interesting elements here. I just really thought this movie was boring. I just thought it was so uninteresting. I wasn't a fan.
Well, we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
hold that thought for now.
Okay. All right.
So basically, what this is, the whole reason why it's even a part of this series in the first place, it's because I'm addressing that there was a monster in Destroy All Monsters called Manda
Mm-hmm.
or Manda, whichever you preferred, that was in Destroy All Monsters that I didn't get to. And he's in this movie. He's a dragon like sea serpent. And once again, he's barely in the movie. Just
Yeah.
very,
Oh man.
very much an afterthought. Like if I, it just, I'll say this: at least like Varen and Baragon, at least they played central parts to the movie. Like this character, like this whole thing is just like not even built up like at all in the slightest.
No, he shows up for a little bit, and they talk about him a little bit. But whenever he does show up, he's barely in it. You're right.
Yeah, I mean they build them up to be they don't even start building them up until like the last half of the movie. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get sacrificed to Manda, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, and then he has one little fight sequence, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess that also doesn't help that I thought it was going to be more like a monster movie, and it's really not. That's not because, these movies, they kind of go like first 40 minutes or so, we get the human plot. Oh, and then we get the monster in, and we start doing that. This is not that. This is more of like a sci-fi movie akin to like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's a Jules Verne-esque sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I mean, so just to give you a recap of what Megalon was like, that one had very, very similar plot where it was this ancient race of people that
Mhm.
lived underneath the sea, and they were sending Megalon up to kind of defend that. And this one's kind of that same vein almost. It's very much like this kingdom called the Mu Kingdom,
Mhm.
and it's an ancient race of people that live underneath the sea, and they are trying to stop the above ground people from existing, pretty much.
Yes, yeah, it's another one where people are going to get killed, other people. Um, but what I do, well, actually, we'll get into the plot before we talk about it. But I do like where the plot goes. I can say that at least this with the Shirio Honda, he has good themes in his movie. He kind of draws from like real life things rather than just making it completely silly.
So, I mean, I know you weren't a big fan of the plot, but
Hmm.
I do want to say though, like in terms of like quality, in terms of like set design, in terms of actual ideas behind this movie and special effects, it's startling to think about like how in the 70s of how bare bones everything is in the 70s compared to the 60s, because this one it's like night and day. It's just
Hmm.
like, oh, there's actual money and they actually put time and effort into these
Yeah, when
movies. Like there's actual complex characters in this.
yeah, when you see like the spaceships fly and stuff like that, it actually looks, pretty good in my opinion. I mean, you can tell it's a miniature, but like you said, the newer Godzilla movies, you can definitely tell they're bare bones. There's a little more strings that you see, stuff like that. So,
No, there's no stock footage in this one either.
oh my God. Wow. I guess you gotta at least give it props for that.
You gotta give her props for that. But the set design, which we'll talk about, but like the Moo Kingdom, just seeing like the set design they made for that, I actually thought for Toho standard, that was actually a really impressive set.
Hmm. No,
Like it's
yeah.
especially before, because it was like the last one, it looked like they were on a set, like just like a one corner, like four panel set, and just
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, okay, not a whole lot of care was done for this, but um, basically what the plot of the movie is, like I said, is that there's a race of people that's been kind of affecting changes on the earth, like destruction a little bit, and it's from the Moo Kingdom, and they're trying to think of ways to infiltrate the Moo Kingdom, and they hear of this special sub that was made by a general during World War II, and they haven't seen this same general for since World War II.
Yeah, he's just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah, so it's very much like I thought it was kind of funny because I remember reading like news stories during that time period or like years after the war of like these soldiers that were living in
Mm.
like jungles and stuff, and like during World War II, that
Hmm.
they were not told that World War II was over, and they were still like having a base in the jungle, thinking like, like World War II had gone on for like 20 years.
That's horrible. That is such a horrible thought.
Have you
Uh,
ever heard of that story though?
I have not, and that's sounds
That
scary.
like the guy, there was a guy who lived out in the jungle on like on this island, and he was like killing random people because he thought that there were people infiltrating his island like as enemies or spies or whatever, and it turned out he was completely, he had no communication, and then when they found him, they had to find his old commanding officer who was a school teacher now, and they had
Oh
to
my
bring him in,
God.
put him in uniform, and like tell him, you're
War's
relieved,
over.
our war's over, buddy,
Oh
go
my
home.
God. That so many the World War II, he thought it lasted that long. Oh my
Yeah, it was
God.
crazy.
Yeah.
But that's a side rant. But that's kind of like what had happened is like this general was out there and he was commanded to go out to sea, and
Hmm.
he chose not to fight, and instead everyone kind of thought he ran away or he may have died, and he had a daughter during that time who ended up being raised by somebody that wasn't her father, and turned out like during that whole time he was having his own base, and he was making this giant godlike sub.
Yeah, exactly. He's making like the perfect sub. And
My perfect sub is with bread, meat,
yeah,
cheese,
uh-huh, yeah, but not me. I like mine cold, metal, submersible, under the
with
water.
a big drill.
Yeah, with a big drill in the front of it, and ran by a man who thinks that World War II, we lost it, and we have to bring Japan's superiority back.
Yeah, well, that's the real reason why he's building it, is because he's thinking that we gotta build a sub so that way we can actually win like the real war. And then we're like, and
Yeah,
his old army buddy has basically got to tell him like, no, like we're not we're not at war anymore. Like we don't even have like a real military. We just have like a defense force now.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was horrifying to hear from his point of view. Like, oh my god, are you serious? But
Um,
when I say like I like elements of this, that's one thing I like. I like the idea of like this guy, because I'm sure there were people in Japan like that at the time. Like, oh, we lost the war, we really got to regain our power again, and it's definitely capturing something interesting there.
um, so they when the movie begins and they show like some of these random attacks that are happening, they do actually mention like some real Toho monsters, like other like from sci-fi Toho movies. It's
Mhm.
like who could have done this? Is like, was it Vapor Man? Was it Geyser Man?
Wait, those are real things? I thought they were just
Yeah.
naming off some silly stuff.
Well, there is. I don't know about Geyser Man, but there is the human vapor.
I think I remember you've talked about the human vapor before, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
because that was I believe it was we talked about it on Godzilla Raids Again because it was like
mhm.
this. It's like they reused the scene from like the H Man or Vapor Man or something like that.
Something like that. I guess like the main thing for me that I felt was weak in this movie were the characters. Other than the general that came back, I really didn't find any character that I connected to or was really interested in, at least on the human side. When we get to the Moo part of this, I do think we do get a little more interest there with the oh, I forget her actual title, the queen, I
Oh,
don't
the Empress,
the
Empress of
Empress.
Mu.
Yeah, Empress of Mu, I do like her character a lot, actually. I think she adds a little more pep into this movie that it needed.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of dug the first. I mean, I dug the movie as a whole, and
Hmm.
I actually, in terms of a human plot line, it's like, which I mean, that's not really saying much because this pretty much is a whole human
Yeah,
movie.
sorry. Yeah, it is a human movie. It is a drama movie. Well,
But I sort of, yeah, but
yeah.
it's definitely like sci-fi light. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
it's I don't know. I was kind of digging it because they were trying to figure out like there's a lot of other stuff I haven't mentioned where she
Mhm.
was getting stalked by like this one guy and like who is this weirdo or whatever, and
That's
it
right.
turned
Yeah.
out like it was a guy that had worked for her father and
Mhm.
he wouldn't even reveal. He's like, you have to come to the base, like that's the only way like you know that you can see him. And there's other elements too, like there is a reporter that's kind of following him, which is another weird thing that which we brought up in Son of Godzilla, where like a reporter showed up and they're just letting this reporter like have free reign, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, just bring this reporter for this like all these like random attacks, like all these like government classified secrets. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
come along.
You can come in. We didn't mention the very beginning of this movie. This movie has such a crazy intro, where they're taking pictures of the woman and like just different types of weird pictures, and then this guy in like this weird like
Oh
nuclear
yeah,
suit pops out, and that's when the title of the movie comes up. There's not really a lot like that in the movie. It's I guess it's just a punchy way to start the movie.
yeah. That's this woman's like in a bikini, and
Yeah,
they're taking pictures of her like at night by this like dock or something like that.
somewhere
And
I don't know.
but yeah, it's a really funny way to start the movie. It's just like to see that big look like a guy like wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, I watched this movie with my dad, and
Mhm.
he's not one for watching a lot of these movies himself, but he seemed to like it as well.
Mm.
It's I don't know, like I so when they finally do meet the admiral who was lost at sea, and they finally found him, he acts really cold at first to his daughter, and then because you're expecting like this big heartfelt reunion between the two, and
Mhm.
instead he's just kind of like just kind of blows her off.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and it's like really depressing because they actually have an emotional scene where she's really sad over it.
yeah, because I mean she's been kind of waiting for this moment her whole life because she's been
Mhm.
wanting to know that's happened to her father. And the other and when they do actually finally have this tender moment where it does show like he had been thinking of her this whole time, and he
Mhm.
was doing it, but he was just so um in his own mission where he was just obsessed with that, where he just wanted to make sure like he could build this submarine. But when he realizes that the Moo Kingdom, because what happens is that the reporter that they brought along with them, he lives in Moo.
Yeah, exactly. And Moo has all these deep connections. Actually, God, what's his name? Is one of the is the guy. He's the doctor from the original Godzilla. Um,
Oh,
is
gosh,
it
you're gonna make
Ken?
me.
No, no, no. I want to say Kenji
No,
Sahara, but that's not it.
no, that's not him. Hirata. I mean, I know he's in there.
That's
He's from the original.
yeah. That's who I
He
was
was the
talking about.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the scientist. He was the. I think yeah. Oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right.
Um, yeah, and I really like seeing him as usual, but once he's like the person from Moo, I feel like he's out of the movie. He just kind of like slips into the background a little bit.
Well, what I do like is, like the people of Moo, whenever they go out on land, they wear like normal outfits, but they have like sunglasses on, and
Yeah.
then but then when they go to their underground, like the underwater layer, they all have like these like very like almost Egyptian
Yeah,
like outfits on.
it reminded me a lot of the past the newest Godzilla movie we watched. It reminded me of that civilization, just kind of like look and vibe. um which is funny because it should be the inverse of how I'm thinking about this. But yeah, they're super eccentric, all these people, and like I said, they kidnap the Empress at one point, and she's just like super mean to everybody.
Yeah, well, she she's very much kidnapped at this point because they do
Yeah.
infiltrate the Mu Empire, and in order to they get her out of there, they kidnap her, and they're like, okay, we're gonna you have to put on this diving outfit. She's like, no, I won't. I'm not gonna do that. And they're like,
Mhm.
okay, well, we're just gonna go ahead and just open all the doors and let the water flood in. She's like, no, please.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was pretty good.
You did like her red hair, like her blood red hair.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, it added a little bit of fun with these guys. I guess that the woman who played her, I was reading on her because she doesn't even have like a Wikipedia page. She was like in like barely any movies, like 4 or 5 movies, and then just like stopped her career. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is for some of these people. It's just like they only do like a couple of them, and then it's just like that's it, or like
Mhm.
or like they either that or they had like a well-known career outside of movies, like a model or something like that.
Yeah.
But so just they when they finally do eventually get the Atragon machine, which, like you said, it's this big giant red sub, and it very much looks like it kind of looks like a monster almost, but it's like
Okay.
maybe but it has like a big giant drill at the end, and Moo has their own other enemy sub that they've created with a little dragon like that shoots lasers
Yeah.
out. And but once they get the Atragon going, that thing is just like a tank. It just bulldozes through everything and
Hmm.
goes right through the Moo base. They set up some bombs, and they end up blowing up the base. But before that,
Hmm.
we do see Manda.
Yeah. We get to see Mando, all right.
Manda,
Mondo.
yeah.
Are we talking about the scene where they I forget because I there's like one that's really silly where the two of the people get put in that prison cell and they can see it through the window, but they see
That
it.
was that was that was his
Okay,
introduction.
okay, yeah. And he's like larger than life. Like his whole thing, you can see his scale, it just takes up the whole window. But he like, turns around and his whole face just like you can see him clear as day through the window.
Yeah, and he's just got like a big like open mouth, like
Yeah. And so this just looks like a traditional what you would think like a Japanese dragon would look like. Not as cool looking as he is in Destroy All Monsters, in my opinion.
no. He they actually switched out the heads for Destroy All Monsters
Gotcha.
because since Ghidorah was the main bad guy in that one, the main bad kaiju, they didn't want a monster to have a similar enough head to that, so they switched out Manda's head so it didn't look as similar to Ghidorah's for Destroy All Monsters. But
Gotcha.
it is funny though, because in this movie, Manda is completely underwater this whole time. He never surfaces above water, and
No.
the next time we see him, he's just hanging out on land,
Yeah.
just swaying back and forth.
From this movie, you would think that it's just a water creature, that it could only swim underwater.
Yeah.
There's that fight scene between that and the sub that kind of, it doesn't really go anywhere.
No, I mean, like I said, Manda's screen time is very, very limited because it turns out Atragon, the sub, they built a freeze cannon, and the main thing that Manda does is that he does kind of like the serpent, like he binds them, he wraps them up, and all that, but they just like flip a switch. Atragon becomes like electrified and just like ow, and just they shoot the freeze cannon at it, and somehow the freeze cannon doesn't freeze the water, but it does freeze Manda.
Yeah, I wonder how it does that, but and then it wouldn't he wouldn't be unfrozen for years to come.
Yeah, but that's why it's just like I don't know. Like I can kind of understand, like I said before, like Baron. I mean, Baron had his own movie at least. It's like Baragon. He wasn't the main bad. He wasn't the. He was at least a crucial part of the movie where it's like he had to fight Frankenstein. But
Yeah.
this one, it's just like Manda just comes off like a complete afterthought. I mean,
Yeah.
as a monster movie, it is not very good. I will give you
No.
that.
No, and maybe that's just not how you need to look at this. It's not really a monster movie. It feels like a movie, a sci-fi movie that just has a cool creature in it. But I guess it gets elevated in a way because they made him like a Toho monster in the later one. Like, this is one of our main monsters. And I guess it could be popularity. I don't know if you want to get into this at the end of the episode, but this movie actually made a lot of money in Japan. It was actually one of their more popular movies.
It was. I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but
Yeah.
I do remember it being pretty popular. But I will say, I think during this time frame, though, this was still '63, so you got to imagine this is still like King Kong versus Godzilla timeline. So this is
Mhm.
like same year as that. So it's people still have that kaiju fever where they're just like, give me as many monsters as you can, and I'm gonna watch everything you put in front of me type. So I think it was still very much hot and heavy. They were on a hot streak.
Yeah, yeah, that makes complete sense. I keep thinking that like it's later in the 60s, but it's 1963, which is like some of the special effects work in this is really stunning for that time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like I said, the set design and the special effects in there. Because Subaraya he's still alive, thankfully,
Yeah.
so he actually does the special effects for this movie. He's still very much a part of the Toho um, company, so he's still out there doing that sort of thing. But like I said, I mean, in terms of the story, I mean, as a sci-fi movie, I think it's pretty good. I like the message. There's a little bit of there's enough of the human element in there, but it's not my favorite human plot line. But I mean, just on terms of like human plot lines we've seen already, it's just like
Mhm.
some of them are just like complete trash, and
Yeah.
this one it's so boring. Like I don't care about them. Like to me, it's like it's above some of those. Like for me, I think like in terms of human plot lines, I think it's still Godzilla versus Ebirah,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but I do think this is definitely one of the better human plot points that the monster. I mean, like I said, if you take Manda out of this, it's almost the exact same movie. I mean, it's not that much difference. It's like Manda is just like a minor inconvenience
Yeah,
to them.
exactly. Yeah, no. In my heart it's more like in league with like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea more than anything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, perfect. But no, I guess just, I don't know what it was during my watching of this. I just wasn't really loving it. I wasn't loving the human characters. Not that I think they were bad. I just it was just a little uninteresting. I think we're just continuing the trend I'm realizing about myself that underwater movies, I guess, just aren't my thing. I don't know. I wanted
It
to
is
like
fun.
it. It's not like I didn't want to go in and not like it, but I just was getting a little bored by it.
I'm not trying to make a bit, but it is funny that all the underwater movies you're not really liking.
I don't know why. I don't know why this is a common thing. Especially because like it's not like they swim out in the water. It's like subs and stuff, but I don't know. It just was a little uninteresting. But I'm glad to
I
hear
get
you
it.
like it.
I get it. You're a hoagie guy
Exactly. I like or maybe just a sandwich. I like a
or a grinder.
grinder. No.
No,
I know. I'm
does it?
just kidding.
Oh, no, I'm a tender guy. I swear.
No, I would never. But yeah, subs just ain't it for me. You won't catch me at a blimpie. I thought because they don't exist anymore, but I don't think it'll
Maybe.
exist.
What about Firehouse?
I do love Firehouse, so damn, never mind.
Well, perfect. Well, go out and pick up a sub today on us.
Yeah, tell them Nathan and Ryan sent you, and you'll pay full
But
price.
so just for clarity's sake, would you give this a recommend?
No, I wouldn't give it a recommend.
No, I will give it a I'll give it a recommend from my end. It was entertaining enough where I was completely satisfied with the viewing experience. Not one of my favorites, but did not feel like time wasted. Um, but I think that's it.
Yeah,
We're gonna shut the book on Toho for now. We'll get back to it with another wacky side quest here in a little while. But Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
well, Ryan, I actually have a special guest with us to introduce the next month of movies. We're doing another celebrity month, and here joining us, well, you'll know it when you hear it.
Hey, how you doing?
That's it. We got Stallone. It's Stallone month.
Oh, great. Yeah, this is going to be great.
All August long, it's going to be all Stallone.
Oh,
That's
great.
8 Stallone movies.
Oh,
Stallone,
great.
I'm excited to be working with you, buddy.
Oh, great. This is going to be great.
Perfect. All right. Well, starting off Stallone month. Do you remember this old one? We're going to be talking about the Lords of Flatbush.
Oh, great.
All right. Great job, buddy. Ryan, you can take over.
Well, thank you so much, you two, for introducing. If you have any thoughts, opinions on subs or Stallone, please email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drivein-double-feature-podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.